Welcome to our new workshop.
Workshop, yeah!
So we recently moved from a small 30 square meter workshop to this much bigger 100 square meter space. We've already done a lot to the place, but there's still a lot more to do. The first thing on the list and the project that this video is about is the making of some really cool doors. Somehow my audio got cut, but this space will become our break room / office, just a dust-free space that we can finish pieces in or just chill. The most important thing missing at the moment is doors, so we actually have a separate space from the workshop. I started with designing some doors on SketchUp. For these doors I drew inspiration from different doors I've seen over the years.
So these beams are from when we renovated our house, and hopefully these will become a door frame and the two doors. But first I have to clean them, de-nail them and make them square again.
I've probably mentioned this before in my videos, but I love working with older and reclaimed materials like these wooden beams. I hope that for this project these beams give a lot of character and give the illusion that the doors have been around for a long time.
So the glue up for the stiles is complete. We have 4 pieces over here. They've been clamped up overnight because it's very cold right now here, but that's fine. Now I'm going to work on the smaller pieces that will become the pieces in between the stiles. But first I'll get these clamps off and then I'll select some wood for the smaller pieces. Three, day. So, 2 piles of wood, One for each door, the smaller pieces, the bigger pieces. There's still two smaller pieces in the clamps gluing over there. I'm going to replace the blades on the planer, because as you saw, I hit a screw earlier. The blades have become very dull, so for the last passes through I want to get a sharp blade on there. Not too bad, luckily. Also, it's not in my original drawings, but doors are typically made with, what do you call it? Mortise and tenon joinery. And I will try to do that with these doors too. So that will be a fun challenge. So yesterday I cut all the stiles for the two doors. Now I'm on to cutting the smaller pieces that are in between. So these pieces are quite tricky because they have a lot of angles. I'm starting with the smaller door because this has one straight stile and then one at an angle, and the bigger door has both these at an angle. So I'm starting with the easier one. So I cut all the tenons with the track saw. I opted for the track saw for the first cut, and now I'm going to cut away the rest with the table saw, and then the leftover piece of wood I will chisel away.
So let's get a go in, shall we?
Let's do a test cut.
checking again if all my measurements are correct and marking out where I need to cut the mortises. Quick recap, all the mortise and tenons are finished for both doors. I did that with the help of this special drill. Never worked with this one before, so ran into a few problems, took longer than I expected, but got there in the end. Now I think I could have done the joinery for this door with the Festool domino. So let me know in the comments what you think. Would you have gone with the domino, save some time and effort? Or do you like the traditional route with the mortise and tenons, like I did with this project? Let me know. Now, the idea is that the top half will have a window, and then this section below will have a wooden panel. So let's make some wooden panels. So, I don't want to bore you guys with more sawing, thicknessing and planing, so here is some sped up footage. The reality is though that almost all woodworking projects involve a lot of thicknessing, planing and sawing. It can be heavy work but very rewarding, because you get a small glimpse of what the project will look like. Glue-ups always scare me in a way, because there's no going back the moment you add glue. Luckily I had some help with this glue up and all went well in the end. You're probably wondering about the panel, because normally you would fit the panel in the door with the glue up, but I wasn't too sure about these panels being made from the same wood. I'm making the door so that I can always come back in the future and switch these panels out for panels from a different species of wood.
So cool.
I'm working on the curved inside pieces of the door. I think these curved details are like the thing that make these doors look so good. After finishing the curves and rounding over the corners with the router, I also needed to route out a recess for the glass and a recess for the wood panel.
So I cut the panels to size. I didn't really like the look of the same wood as the panel, but for the left one I routed in a groove, and I like that a lot better because it highlights the shape of the door much more than the one on the right.
I bought these decorative trim pieces from my local hardware store. They'll be used to secure the panel in place. I could have made these myself, but I don't have the right router bit for this, and buying the trim is cheaper than the router bit.
Rico. Ik hoef geen hondenkoekje.
Because I'm working with reclaimed wood, there were a lot of imperfections. I'm using wooden inlays and plugs to repair the biggest imperfections. The wood for these plugs and inlays don't have to match the wood on the door spot on like you'd normally want, but on the other hand, I also don't want the repairs to become the focal point of these doors. So I chose pieces of wood that closely resemble the wood from the door, but just a little darker. So you can't spot them from across the room, but if you would look at the doors observantly, you would spot them. Like small Easter eggs.
Perfect.
In an era of AI, epoxy and UV curing finishes, I'd like to use a traditional and natural finish like this boiled linseed oil when I can. If it was good enough for my European ancestors, it will be good enough for these doors.
Zo pakken. Dus we kunnen hem ook nog even op de zijkant zetten.
Nou, ik kan hem wel in één keer draaien.
Ja, maar ik niet. Oh, ik vind het zelf echt mega mooi.
Goed zo. Ik vind het ook mooi.
Because the glass has to be cut in such a weird shape, I thought making templates would be the best way. My initial thought was that I wanted to get some kind of figured glass for the doors. But I changed my mind after thinking about the visibility from the office space into the workshop. So I ended up wanting to go with clear glass. This way you can see if someone is entering the workshop. After having thought this over, I contacted a friend of mine who makes stained glass artwork. I wanted to see if she could cut some glass for me. She agreed to do it and even offered me some glass she had laying around. So thanks for the glass and the help, Linda.
Ik maak een filmpje en dus ik zulke dingen.
Ja, maar ik wil dan plaatsen even goed.
Ja. Denk zo ook.
Ja, volgens mij zo hier inderdaad.
Ja, heb je hem?
Ja. Kom maar los.
Ja. Oh, hij ligt daar erop. Ja. Oh, wauw.
Leuk.
Past.
Ja, super.
To secure the glass in place, I'm making corners that match the curve on the front of the door and fill the space in between with glazing trim. Maybe this explanation doesn't really make sense, but here you can see the whole construction while the oil dried. I got some smaller panels of cork, so it was a bit of a puzzle getting it to fit. But the bigger panels were a lot more expensive, and I reckon it would be even trickier to cut from one big panel. You can also buy special cork glue, but I made a test piece with cork and wood glue and it worked really well, so I'm just using that.
Woe! Nou, dat prima voor mij.
Oh ja.
Ja. Ja. Ja, die zit.
Mooi.
Zo. Dat gaat best mooi.
Hartstikke mooi.
Zo? Ja. Ja. Ja, perfect.
Ja.
Nou. Nou. Moment of truth.
Kan haast niet missen nu. Kan haast niet.
High five.
Here we are debating which door should be the one we use daily and which one stays shut most of the time. There's no need to open both doors daily, just when we have to move bigger stuff around.
Nee, ik kan nog houden.
Wat een onzin!
Ja.
enjoyed making it. And thanks for watching.